All right, so welcome to another one for Al Cuerpo Boxing, which means to the body. So let's get with it. Let's talk some boxing. So I want to talk about Hamza Sheeraz versus Carlos Bronco Adames. Adames, who's defending his WBC middleweight belt, right? Which he won against Terrell Gausha. I believe it was in June or May of last year. So it's been a good time to get busy, to prepare for a fight with Hamza Sheeraz. And for those of you that don't know, Bronco Adames is still with Ismael Salas. So there's some good chemistry, some very good chemistry in this bout. What I want to focus on is, well, first let me tell you guys my initial prediction. I had stated that I have Carlos Adames to beat Hamza Sheeraz, though I didn't want this, but to beat Hamza Sheeraz by stoppage in the late rounds. Okay, but I'm making a new prediction in that I think this fight might actually end in a draw, and I'll get to why. But I think it's going to be kind of like the Crawford and Madrimov, somewhat of a similar situation, but it'll be a draw. But the keys to victory on what Carlos Adames would need to do, I guess let's say with the premise to stop a Hamza Sheeraz, all right? Sorry if I sound counterproductive here because, I'm already predicting that it's going to be a draw. So maybe I should rephrase it and say how it shouldn't be a draw, right? Maybe go with I should state my initial prediction theory that Adames would stop Sheeraz. But the reason why I had said that initially is that I think that Adames is more heavy-handed than an Ammo Williams, right? Austin Williams. More broader, wide shoulders, just more huskier than Ammo Williams. And there was some debate or discussion with other YouTubers in who hits harder, right? An Ammo Williams or a Carlos Adames. But I think overall punching power in both hands, I think I would give it to Adames over Austin Williams, Ammo Williams. And so, with that being said, some of you may not know, or you do know, but the fight in which Hamza Sheeraz, when he fought with what's that guy, the Torres, man, he just got countered with a nice flush straight on the chin, right on the button here, and he went down. Okay, and that was through an exchange, or I should say, he was rushing into Torres, and then Torres just clipped him with a right hand. Okay, and of course, you guys know that Ammo Williams, being a southpaw, he had success in catching Sheeraz in the same manner, kind of catching on his chin. I guess you could say Sheeraz has a pretty good chin, but that's debatable on who's the heavier hitter, Adames or Ammo Williams. But anyways, we can all agree that when Sheeraz did get touched up in those instances, right? Because I would say Ammo Williams had some good success in rounds 2, 3, and 4 in catching Sheeraz, and Sheeraz had a good method in withstanding those moments, using his high guard, standing in the fire, and Sheeraz was able to get out of those difficult situations, assuming if he was really hurt. Okay, but what we do know is that I like to bring up their previous fights. In my previous video, I had done it all in Spanish, but I was stating that the fight in which Adames had with Terrell Gausha, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Gausha being in the former Olympic national team, has a pretty good pedigree, just has a lot of experience, a really good, proper fringe contender, and has fought a lot of good guys, He was I think the first one to floor Tim Tszyu, if I'm not mistaken, if that was the first time Tim Tszyu has ever been dropped, or I don't know, Tim Tszyu may have been dropped earlier in his career. Sorry if I don't know that. But Gausha also fought Erickson Lubin. So anyways, that was a good test for Carlos Adames. the Bronco Adames, and I guess maybe some didn't like that fight. They thought the fight was boring. In a way, it kind of is, but I kind of look at it in a different approach. In that, Carlos Adames, I think at that time was 29 years old, or perhaps 30. I know he's 30 now, but he is at the prime peak of his career, maybe like in the middle of his prime, a ripe age of 30. And he did good enough to win that belt. Got to give him that. And so, him very cautious and selective punches. Say for me, one of the great punches that Bronco Adames has is his overhand right, man, and he puts a lot of weight onto it. He can do it very high, or he can do it mid. He can do it looping around the ear, around the guard. So that's one thing that I would like to see Bronco Adames focus on in this fight, particularly when Sheeraz has his guard up. Okay, so that's some nice tricks up his sleeve. But the straight cross, or what we call in Spanish the el recto, down the pipe, is what I think if Adames can catch Sheeraz in the early rounds too, let's say rounds 2 or 4, because that's pretty much what Sheeraz was hurt in, the Torres fight and the what was it? It was the Amma Williams fight. If they can somehow, if he and Salas can make a decision on what they want to do, if they want to really focus on the earlier rounds to hurt him, they might have some success. Okay, but on the flip side to that, Sheeraz has height to his advantage. He has a pretty good jab. He's fast, and Adames has to be careful with his hooks. Okay, as you guys know, when I always say, even with tall and lanky fighters, man, because they put so much momentum and inertia from just long shots with hooks, they're very dangerous, man. Again, that's why I've always been a fan of like an Andy Lee type, an Andy Lee who, even though he was very thin and skinny at middleweight, once upon a time he was still able to knock out what's his name, Jackson, Julian. The Hawk Jackson's son, right? Was it John Jackson? If I'm not mistaken. But anyways, you got to watch out for the hooks from Sheeraz. And I think Salas and Adames know this. The question is, it's Riyadh season, right? We know that the Saudis don't want to see no boring fights. And by the way, that's going to put pressure on Shakur and Schofield in this fight. I know Virgil Ortiz, I've said this before, that for him to really take advantage of the moment in Riyadh season, he's going to have to go and take risks even more, as he did in the Boachuk fight, but go all out and try and stop Madrimov at all costs. So that way Turkey can see it, because then that'll build the narrative. Should Ortiz beat Madrimov, Oscar, go all the way promotions, they're going to start pushing it, and so they're going to start downplaying and maybe boycotting Canelo versus Crawford, and that Crawford should really be fighting Virgil Ortiz, And of course, you might get some insecure fans that really don't want Crawford to fight Canelo. They might be on board with that, one of those type of narratives, right? But anyways, back to Sheeraz and Bronco Adames. Again, if Adames can catch and time Sheeraz in moments and clip him on the chin, I think Adames has enough punching power to really, really hurt and perhaps stop Sheeraz. That was my original pick. But guys, yeah, I know we want to see a lot of action in the Riyadh season. Now, Sheeraz is a commodity, right? He's considered kind of like a ring treasure for Riyadh season, for his type of fan base, his cultural type of fan base. So they might protect, perhaps. Don't quote me on this, but they might protect Sheeraz, and who knows? They might advise Sheeraz to fight conservatively too, like as Madrimov and Crawford did in their fights, and therefore, if he's being advised to do that, he might not get penalized for that type of performance where he's not really exchanging or throwing much. He's just doing enough that we can get a controversial draw type. But on the same time, that also puts pressure on Adames, because Adames also might not do much, right? With the old saying of, you got to take the belt from the champion. Adames might just do enough to defend himself and, keep Sheeraz safe and secure points in his rounds, the same way like he was able to control the Gausha fight. But of course, Sheeraz is bigger than Gausha. They're two different type of fighters, but Bronco Adames has showed variance throughout the years that he can have different styles of fighting. But of course, now we're in the championship level. Adames is defending his belt, and of course, we want to see a knockout in this fight. Again, I originally predicted Adames to stop Sheeraz, just primarily looking at the Emma Williams fight. That if Emma Williams, being more young, less experienced than a Bronco Adames, and of course not as heavy-handed as a Bronco Adames, that's how I was leaning a lot of variables in Carlos to possibly hurt Sheeraz and win by knockout. So that's what I have on that. But forgive me for making this whole skeptic vibe for this fight, but I'm going to choose it. I'm going to go with the draw, guys. I'm going to go with a controversial draw from the fans. Some sides are going to say Sheeraz won, and the other guys are going to say that Adames did enough to defend his belt and win. Perhaps by unanimous decision, they're going to say, he did enough. He won more rounds. So that's what I have on this one, guys. I have Bronco Adames defending his belt against a nice draw. Controversial draw against Hamza Sheeraz this Saturday on the undercard of Beterbiev versus Bivol. I will catch you guys on the next one for another Al Cuerpo boxing, which means to the body. And I'll catch you on the next one, man. Peace.